also as a historian of religion. So, okay, I'm going to offer a star journey. And it goes in the direction of the female bears, since they're inseparable from my understanding of modern matriarchal studies, the gift economy, and feminist motherhood. So first I'm going to give you your ticket. Then we're going to go to the library. Then we're going to commune with female bear on earth. Then we're going to invoke goddess as bear. Then we're going to swim in the female bear constellations, and then we're going to come home. So here's your ticket. It's a blank ticket. There's nothing written on it, because this journey eludes language. I'm still going to try to tell you, but it's very difficult to encompass it in language. Because what we're going to be doing is moving back and forth between the realm or the world that's under the earth and that's buried within us. The realm around us on earth, what happens in our lives, and then the upper celestial world. And the bears in this talk are our vehicle. Now it's very important that you understand that this is very normal, at least as far as I'm concerned. This is not the province of some specialized astrological creature. You know, we're all wired for this, the way I work. The circuits of our energy, our bodies, are intimately linked with the stars. The chakras, our major chakras, are mirrors of the planets in our solar system. So this is something that anyone can do. Okay, so first we have to go to the library. When I first started approaching these constellations, this is about 14 years ago, and I found almost nothing in books that was helpful, which is actually very common in my case, because what is recorded in texts, at least the texts to which, that are available to me as an American, are invariably saturated with patriarchal, misogynist consciousness. The whole upper world is just, to me, is just saturated with everything that I'm not interested in. So I do the work that I do really for my own sanity, because I'm a working astrologer. And if I have to reference planets and constellations that are just saturated with patriarchy, it's like being a slave on some sort of plantation, suffering and shuffling, and there's so much patriarchy around, and there's so much patriarchy above, as above, so below, right? This has all been institutionalized. So here's what I found in the library about these two bear constellations. A single male bear, predictable. Male political and spiritual leaders, good ones, but nevertheless. Their guiding principles, good guiding principles, but still, to me, very male-centered. Tools of survival, mostly having to do with male jobs, entirely having to do with male jobs. And a tragic sense of death. That's like pretty much the categories that the books brought forward. The other thing that came out very strongly is that these two female bear constellations are the supreme source of celestial energy. The absolute summum, the top of the mountain. You can't, this is the ultimate. So here we have very patriarchal, to me, very patriarchal consciousness. And fortunately, now if any of you who are feminist researchers, you know that experience where you're just slogging through, patiently taking notes, maintaining your interest, but realizing that nothing that you're studying really helps you in your work. And then you come across this little fragment, this little line that's just redolent with possibility. It's like finding the door in the wall. And so my door in the wall that I found was, I'm paraphrasing here, in a tradition already extremely ancient in Homer's time, of course they always have to reference Greece, these constellations were two bears, almost always female, as preserved in their Latin names, Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, great female and little female bear. This tradition extended from Babylonia and the Ganges through Eurasia, northern circumpolar countries, and then they always say the Great Lakes. But it's virtually the whole northern hemisphere that they're talking about. And I'm sorry that these constellations aren't in the southern hemisphere because this presentation is really mostly oriented toward the north. I apologize for that, but I can't move these stars, to the South Pole, so that's just the way it is. Anyway, this little door in the wall put me on the track of these female bears in the sky. And in return, they gave me a great gift. I already had a right palm of love. As a female, I think I was pretty well socialized to be loving. I don't always succeed, but I have to say, I've got laurels in the love chakra. But what the bears gave me that I never had was this 5-clawed paw of indomitability. This was new for me. They gave me so much. I'm so indebted to them. And these 5 claws are what enable me to growl out my clauses about taking back the sky and liberating the astrological imaginary and naming the sky in accordance with my own feminist and matriarchal lights. And they help me to prowl. When I'm prowling, this left paw with its 5 claws is always leading. That's why the title of this presentation is Love and Indomitability. It's the balance. It's making that balance that is my path. So, leading with this left claw, let's start again from what I call female-centered scratch. It means that you start all over again, and you ask female-centered questions. In this case, they are, how do these constellations, what are female-centered bear themes? What would they be? Well, let's look at the way the constellations actually move. Naked eye astronomy. They look like a large female bear tracking her daughter, and her daughter moving very autonomously, spinning around herself. That's what they look like. The mother in relationship and the daughter autonomous. Any other female-centered bear themes? Well, what do female bears do on Earth that male bears don't do? Clearly, child-bearing. Maternal caretaking, bearing with your cubs. So we've got a new list of questions about why these constellations might have been associated by so many of our ancestors with female bears. And those questions are, what do female bears on Earth have to do with a mother bear spinning around her daughter, a daughter spinning around herself, female leaders, their guiding principles, female tools or tasks of survival, a female rapport with death, with childbearing, with maternal caretaking. Now, when I got to this point, I knew that my 5 claws had scraped something, but I couldn't go any further. I knew that these stars had given a lot of bearings to humanity, and female bears in particular, but I couldn't prowl any further on my own. And that's when I got the idea. I need to ask female bear on Earth for help, because she's the only one who can open the portal to her stars. You follow me here? Like, I can't just go there as a human being with my head. I have to really appeal to female bear on Earth to help me. It's like when Barbara Mann said, she said something yesterday, ask corn. You have to go ask corn. Well, it's the same thing that I was just really guided to do it. I was stuck. I couldn't do any more on my own. So I put out a little prayer, something like, I don't know what it was, but it was kind of like this. Female bear on Earth, I need to understand more about you in the gift economy of the 3 worlds. Your circulation above, around, and within, long ago and right now. Bear with my ignorance about who you really are. I want to share a little of your story. Shamble, lope, leap, soar, and swim alongside me and even within me. That was in 1995. A lot of weird stuff has happened since then. But there's one thing I can mention that one very concrete point of guidance was like, you doorknob, go read a science book about bears. And so the distinct command was, read a science book. It wasn't like go read about mythology or astrology or something. So just go to the people who've been observing bears as a career see what they have to say. So I did, and female bear on Earth, her look is that the many colored coats of her extended family match the colors of humanity. They're very similar, all the different rainbow colors. And bears and humans have similar skeletons. We're long-lived mammals. We walk flat on our paws. We rely heavily on our hands and claws. We're extremely willful. There's an enormous amount of physical mirroring between bears and humans. Secondly, we occupy the same ecological niche. Not polar bears, but a lot of the other existing bears. In other words, bears and humans, we like the same kinds of foods, and we like to sleep in caves. So we have a very long history, or herstory with one another, where we were going after the same kinds of foods, occupying the same food corridors, food and shelter, it's so basic. And bears and humans both wanted the same thing. Now also, she is my senior, because I emerged very recently in Africa, and then moved out of Africa. And when I was in Africa, I was a bear of Africa, because there weren't any bears in Africa. So the humans put out their bear-like patterns into the environment and had no competition. But when we moved north out of Africa, we met the bears. They were everywhere. There were many species, and they virtually covered the entire northern hemisphere. So she has enormous, 1.5 million years. And we're what? I don't know, 100,000, 200,000. So, also, she's my sister, and she's so smart. Her intelligence is very similar to my own in terms of reasoning, observation, and memory. This is because we're both opportunistic eaters. We have to find our food in these changing climate and weather, and what's growing over there, and are the fish running, and food. So we have the same kinds of minds because we have to be intensely educated as children in order to learn how to survive. We're non-instinctual. Bears and humans, we have instincts, but we have a lot of knowledge and intelligence that we have to learn. So that's just a brief introduction to her. Now, I want to go more into communing, because this is more getting into some of the ideas about what her stars might have meant. And so let's start with the theme of death, which came forward very strongly in these stars. Bears, like this great queen female bear, was my greatest threat in times of scarcity, because she was larger, stronger, faster, much easier for her to kill me, virtually impossible for me to kill her without a repeating rifle. And yet, that's mostly what you find in the history, by the way, how dangerous bears are, how they kill us, blah, blah, blah. Yet, bear seems to model, female bear, a spirited approach to inevitable death. She dies in hibernation, or seems to, surviving off body fat, making water, recycling wastes, yet she emerges in the spring. She embodies resurrection. Now, there are lots of other information here. She embodies new life emerging from apparent death. She embodies meditation because of the way that she hibernates, very yogini-like. She embodies apparent parthenogenesis because she enters her cave looking totally flat-bellied and yet emerges with cubs months later. She embodies birth control. She embodies slow breeding. She embodies education as a matter of life and death. She embodies indomitability. She embodies the safety of resting places. She embodies expertise in gathering and hunting, so vastly superior to our own. We were like one-celled amoebas, compared to her, because she has incredible senses of sight, hearing, and smell that just dwarf what we're able to do ourselves. Also, since the mother and daughter are always mirroring one another physically, the mother embodies relationship and the daughter embodies autonomy. And I think these constellations show a cosmology where partnership has supreme status, or a two-in-one nature of reality. In other words, not a monotheistic or maybe not even parthenogenic, but two-in-one, because it is the two bears. So maybe some of these were her gifts to us, and why so many ancestors saw her in these constellations. And So I want to just offer a few prayers. May we may we humans achieve reproductive freedom, seeing you naturally control birth. May we teach the art of being a human as a matter of life and death, seeing you assiduously teach the art of being a bear. May we end slaveries, seeing you indomitably defend yourself and your cubs from would-be dominators. May we end hunger and homelessness, seeing you feed and shelter yourself and your cubs. May we end racism, seeing so many coats of color peacefully coexisting in your extended family. May we live sustainably, seeing you commune responsibly, consume responsibly, conserve energy, create water, and recycle waste. And may we directly satisfy your needs now by restoring forests and ice caps, seeing that you are barely surviving, and remembering that bears and humans are ecological siblings. If we cannot protect you, how can we protect ourselves and our young? Now I'm going to just briefly invoke Artemis, because another big part of taking back the sky for me is not only working through the female animal of the constellation, but also invoking the goddess who happens to be to embody as that animal. So the one I've chosen is Artemis, and these are just some meanings of her name, derived from Arctos and Themis. Female bear, north, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, ancient polar goddess, the immutable center, the gate of birth and death, the ruler of the circle, the whole movement of the sky and destiny, the guardian of the pole and cosmic order, female lover of all animals, including their powers and habitats that got degraded into mistress of the animals under patriarchy. The spirit of this tribe or city, the basis of democracy and right rule, the collective conscience that creates religion. Robert Graves says that Zeus stole the sky from Artemis. This whole idea that the sky is this province of male gods, that was a fundamental principle in the consolidation of patriarchy. If you colonize the sky, the earth is like, it's so easy. You've done all the hard work. So why we need to undo this. So we're going to have to zip past a lot of stuff because I only have 2 more minutes. And just go straight to these mother and daughter bear constellations. Great female mother bear. Her hundreds of visible stars and over 4 dozen visible galaxies have given the northern hemisphere its bearings for millennia in terms of time, season, latitude. Of her 7 brightest stars, 4 trace the cave boundaries of her womb. 3 trace the path of her vulva and vagina, her female and maternal cave opening of sexuality and birth. Her 4 paws point south toward zodiacal constellations, the pregnant crab, the lioness giving birth. Always tracking her child, her 2 brightest womb stars point to her daughter's vulva star. Daughter bear is a miniature version of her mom, so 4 bright stars mark her womb, and 3 stars mark the path of her vulva and vagina, her cave opening of sexuality and reproductive promise. Each day, her body firmly spins around her vulva star. Daughter bear seems to twirl around her own root chakra, a portrait of autonomy, self-sufficiency, independence, sovereignty, and poised control. The apparently fixed, motionless, immovable light of her vulva star, also known as the North Star, guides us north and forms the still point around which all other northern stars spin. To me, daughter bear's vulva star embodies a reproductive promise of mortality as well as the girl revolution, which I certainly hope I have a minute to talk about, because I'm so excited about this. In about 93 years, the polar axis of Earth is going to align exactly with the daughter's vulva star. This is a big deal. This is a big sizzle in astro world, because it takes almost 26,000 years for this to happen. Right? So, the polar axis, North Pole, South Pole, the southern and the northern hemispheres of Earth will be like right on her vulva star in 93 years. It's like big deal. So what does this mean to me? Well, I'm really aware of the vulvas and... Oh, okay. All right, I'll just let me do this one thing. The vulvas, vaginas, and wombs of daughters are still widely deemed shameful or dangerous, mutilated, incested, raped, controlled, and sold, whether by family members, spouses, or lovers, pimps or sex slave traders, clergy or state. And to me, this long-awaited alignment suggests that it's inevitable that we're going to make a lot of progress in the 21st century toward ending the sexual and reproductive slavery of our daughters. An awful lot of it is happening in the United States, so my country. So this is a global phenomenon, and it makes more money than anything except for the weapons trade. It's the only thing that makes more money now. So, okay, I have to go. I got a lot more, but thank you so much.